So we're talking about a minor pentatonic scale, and specifically the E minor pentatonic scale and the notes involved in that 5-note scale, and learning how they sound and what their application might be, how to use them over chord progressions. So we started with, let's do the first one we did. So we're just playing on the first string. Let's follow me up the string. So we're going E, 3rd fret is G, 5th fret A, 7th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret, and that's it. So back to open. 3rd fret is G, 5th fret is A, 7th fret is B, 10th fret is D, and then we're back to the 12th fret, E. So let's go backwards in a second here. So we've got E, D on 10, B on 7, A on 5, G on 3, and then open E. And then we said, okay, here's our first riff. G, E, G, E. And if you're working on downstrokes, you can go G, E. Or up and down strokes, I should say. You can practice your alternating. So this is what that riff sounds like. G, practicing it over this progression. And the progression I'm using is just E minor to A7. E minor to G, E to A7. G, E, G, E, G. Okay, and then the next riff I did was B, A, G, E. 7, 5, 3, open. 7, 5, 3, open. B, A, G, keep going. B, A, G, E, B, A, G. And you can alternate it with the first riff, so you could go. G, E, Great, and then I said, okay, well, let's go on the next string. G, E, D, B. So on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, you've got a D and a B. And we could even start that with even more specific getting used to it. So just go D, B, D, B, D, B. And then once that's feeling pretty good, then alternate between the 3-0, 3-0 on the top 2 strings. Okay, so start going D, B, D, B, D, B, D, B, D. So now you could be just doing the this one. Those are two nice ones, right? B, A, G, E, G, E, D, B. Dum, 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 do, do, Great, okay. So let's jump way up here on the first string. So what note's this? The halfway point on the E string, halfway between the nut and the bridge, that's your octave, so this is an E, right? Now just play that one note. You can move it around a little bit, give it some vibe. Just that one note, and here's what it sounds like in con. It changes as the harmony changes. Its impact. Great, so now try, get ready for the D. So D, E, D, E, D, E, D, E. Or just alternate between the D and the E, so the 10th fret and the 12th fret. You can stay on, if you like. Just see how those two notes, the interplay with them affects, I don't know, your ideas. It's just a creative kind of process, just kind of being curious about what effect they might have. You just stay on the D for a while. Just hold on that 10th fret a bunch of times. Maybe resolve to the 12th fret. Or work down to the 7th fret and just hold on that one note for a long time on the B. Or even just on the 5th fret. You can just stay on the 5th fret as the chord progression kind of keeps going. And then maybe just back to the 12th fret. Just stay on the 12th fret. Now, if the 12th fret is an E, then if you go to the 15th fret, you're back to the octave of G. So if you look at my guitar, right where the so this is a G. Now we're going into kind of high territory. So you could go G, E, G, E, G, E, 15, 12, which was the same as we were doing down here. But because the frequency is twice as high, it's a little more exciting. G, got a nylon string guitar, it's pretty tricky, but still doable. If you got a cutaway, you're laughing. Now you could try 15, 12, 15, 12, on the next string. I'm gonna have a little sip. Any questions?
So if I wanted to practice this stuff, I'd find some backing tracks in a certain key and then just go to it.
Yeah, and I mean, what I'm kind of doing right now is providing some backing tracks. That's kind of my idea too. But yeah, if you wanna get something that's more consistent, for sure. And another way you can do it, you could either find some backing tracks, or you can get a looper pedal, and you can play your own rhythm. That's a really effective way to do it. And then you can just play a chord progression. A backing track's great if you can find some. Or you know what the best thing to do is you play along with your favorite song. You pick a song that you know you're going to be able to solo in with E minor pentatonic or A minor pentatonic if that's where you're at, or wherever. Like once you've got this sound, it's a really easy one to play around with, which is how rock kind of came to be, and blues. And then you just practice over top of your favorite songs. I find it way more inspiring than backing tracks. I mean, that's how everybody really learns how to play this kind of music. And it's a lot more fun if you just try picking out the notes too. Like if you're playing along with any rock and roll song, like any Stone song or Jimi Hendrix song or Doors song, like the pentatonic scale fits over everything. So pick a song, and then I mean, I don't mind even saying, okay, this is the pentatonic scale you use, you know? So, yes, Susan.
Yeah, so on that note of trying to play along with YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
um, the only way I can tell what key they're playing in is by freezing the YouTube and zooming in when I get to see their hands. I can't hear what key they're in.
Yeah, that's a I don't know what to say. Well, it takes a lot of time to figure that out sometimes, but it can be done. Well, you have to kind of know what the root of the song is, and then you have to find whatever note that is on the bass note, and that'll tell you. That generally tells you what key you're in. But that's a pretty extensive topic, to be to be frank. Can I say that, Frank?
That's a session for another day, is what you're saying.
Well, it's a session for another day, but it's also more than a session. Like every session relates to that specifically because it's all about ear training and musicality, and the more you kind of are open to the idea of just learning about that and asking questions and try to figure it out, then yes. I mean, most songs are in guitar keys. If it's a guitar song, it's in a guitar key. But there are definitely ways to do that. So it is a topic for another day. But it has to do with just extensive uh, playing, really, and listening, which has already been done. So it is making those kind of connections, I guess.
But I got to tell you, I love this stuff. I'd really like to do a lot of this, so because
Yeah, well,
this is where my growth is coming.
yeah. I mean, when I started out, when I was 15 and 16, it was just always just learning the blues scales and playing along um, with whoever, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and learning lots of learning blues. But the reason for learning blues is because then you get to learn the pentatonic scale, and then as you kind of grow musically or in different directions, you realize pentatonic scales are the kind of the foundation for every kind of music you can imagine. They really are. And so the example I was going to give after a little bit of this was um well, let's take one brief little segue, because this is the same thing but on a different kind of, from a different angle. It relates and it kind of ties some other things together. So we're going to use this tab, and we're going to use this scale that we're doing in the form of a song, the Blackest Crow, because it is the same pentatonic scale. So just to show how this scale is used melodically in ancient Americana, Scottish kind of Americana, or Irish Americana, who knows? I don't know where the Blackest Crow came from. Does it say here? English folk songs? Probably. Okay. So if you take a look at this,
Well, it says traditional American.
But that,
Does that mean anything? Words and music,
yeah,
traditional
I guess it, yeah, exactly.
American.
Yeah, American. Um, so I transcribed this all on the first string. This is tab, right? These are the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you kind of look at your guitar, if you kind of lift your guitar and look at it at you, this is, even though it's a bit of an optical illusion, this is the first string, or the string closest to the ground, you know, the highest sounding, highest pitch. So on the 7th fret, you'd have what? What were we talking about before? What's on the 7th fret of the first string? I can't see anybody's lips, so you can. Do you remember? It's a B, right? Okay, so
B.
A B. So we go, and it's good to make these connections. This is something I haven't done enough of. I just take it for granted. Well, it shows me what it is, so I don't have to. Well, I know both. I know it anyway. So this is a B, anyways, and then it goes A, G, E, and then we talked about a couple of the. Well, on the second string on the 3rd fret, you've got a D, right, and then you're back to G, A, B, 10th fret is a D. So that's pretty much the melody for the main part of the verse. It's all pentatonic. It's all E minor pentatonic. I didn't transpose the timing too much because I wanted it to just look. I just wanted to be able to follow one aspect. So the timing is. So just follow that again with me. So we've got, and it's in 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 7, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0, and this is held to this note, so get ready, and 7, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0. So let's just do that first part again. I know that was quite quick, or it could have been quite quick, or it might have been just right. In either case, that is good. Okay, let's try that again. I'll start on the 7. So we got 7, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0, and that's a tie. 7, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 5, or sorry, 7, 5, 3. I'm gonna play, let's just play that part again. It's just the same thing twice, right? It's this one melodic phrase repeated. So I'm gonna play the chords. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0, 7, 5, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3. Can I try that again? Is that, how is that? Is that, you able to follow that? 1, 2, 3, here we go. Seven, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0. Try it again from the top. Now keep going. Dun, 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 I'm going to do the middle part now. This part, 303. 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 10, 7, 10, 12, 12, 10, 10, 7. And then it's going to start again, doing the part that we did twice at the beginning. So from here, you've got 303, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 10, 7, 10, 12, 12, 10, 10, 7. And then 7, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, 0. From the very top. 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7. Three, 5, 7, 10, 12. 3, 1, 2. Here's the whole thing from the top in tab. One, 2, 3, 1, 2. The bridge, 1, 2. 3, 5, 7, 10. Seven, 5, 3, 0. ready to go to the top, I'm just gonna play the chords. 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 3, One more time for the top. 7, 5. Well, what do you think? Was that helpful? A little overdid it? Was that a good? What are your
Well,
thoughts?
it really linked in that scale you're using with to me, and I'm quite enjoying picking out that. But the only trouble, I can hear it, but I'm struggling to find the finger placement. Is all. That's all new for that.
Right. Okay. Well, that's thank you very much for your feedback because it is tricky, and I guess it's as long as you know where the fingers are now, right? So it's not so much of you're just kind of fumbling trying to get to them in time, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
Oh,
that's
and which is the best finger to use, Aaron? Your middle finger or your index finger?
I don't think it really matters.
Or one you feel happiest with?
I would use your strongest finger just to make it easy. So for me, I find my middle finger is very is pretty strong. I find that the index finger I'm a little off balance, just the way that I've trained technically. I think I've used my middle finger a lot of the times for that. It's good to try them all once it gets to be fairly familiar. So what you could do if you want to refer back to this specific kind of thing, you could, if you're looking at it on YouTube, you can slow it down. You know how to do that on YouTube. You could slow it down to 75%. And that would make it, I mean, that is one of the most priceless resources on the internet for learning music, is to be able to slow stuff down. And again, and same with like Frank, when you're learning stuff like that, when you're listening to like solos and stuff. I know I guess if I had YouTube when I was learning, I probably would have done other stuff than learn, because YouTube's just the internet's just so distracting. But if you can focus on the one thing, like for learning music specifically, to be able to slow down music. Like I used to buy these things. Well, jazz musicians would take their records and put them on their record players, and then they'd slow the speed down. Like they'd take a 78 and put it down to 33 or to 12, right? So that they could, or to 45. Because if you take a 78, slow it down to 45, you're still in the ballpark pitch-wise, but the music, like say they're learning bebop or something like that, they can kind of figure out what people are doing and learn it. So back to where we're at right now, if you were to put it at 75% or whatever speed it takes to slow it down to get, and also if you practice it, like once you know where to put your fingers and once the melody's there, you don't have to play along with anything until you feel, until you're more confident with where your fingers are going to be. And then you can try playing along with a track. Or just conversely, you don't have to follow the rhythm. You can just practice that till it's memorized. That's a good one to memorize. That's an excellent melody to memorize. It's pretty straightforward. It's just in the pentatonic. And something magical about the pentatonic, just that, like having 5 notes, it's great for memory work. I think that's why one of the reasons why it's such a universal kind of scale is because you can really integrate it quickly.
You've cracked open a big door, Aaron.
Okay, great. Now it's up to you.
I thought it was an excellent way to teach a skill. I've had skills taught before to me, but laying it over a chord was like a total light bulb moment. That was excellent.
Good. Yeah, it's if you can apply it immediately, then you don't have to learn you don't have to learn a bunch of scales and then try to figure out what to do with them. You just learn a note or two. Because the scales are from the chords and vice versa. Like the chords are from the scales and the scales are from the chords, and they're all just little colorful bits. The scales are just a little more active, whereas the chords are a little more static and they're all played at the same time. Whereas the scales, aka arpeggios, and arpeggio is just a scale with less notes. It's just a different word for it. It's funny in when you start learning jazz, or when you've learned jazz for a long time, scales are used instead of arpeggios. Like you don't even say arpeggios. You don't even say scales anymore. You just say chords, because it's just assumed that you can play them in any order at any time at any speed kind of thing. So when you're playing chords, you're playing a bunch of scales, and then it basically just turns into you're just playing one scale, which is the chromatic scale, because all the notes that you can think of fit into one chord if you know how to resolve them. But back to the comments. It's really important, I find, to be able to. It's like, okay, well but what do you do with it? That is really the bridging the gaps of how to make the musical as soon as possible, I think, is when it gets it's just fun. It's like that's the whole idea. So now what? What do you think? That was a lot. That was a lot of playing and thinking, like a full hour's worth of that. So
I'm just wondering where you should post this video. Do you want to put it onto the Facebook page or YouTube?
it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, the only reason I use YouTube is because it's easy to access it, and so I mean, it's just easy for me to upload it, and it just seems that if I'm going to put stuff anywhere, I trust YouTube more than I trust Facebook. Because Facebook, as much as I trust it in that we're not doing anything, I don't trust their privacy policies as much. Like YouTube's been around, it's a lot more transparent, and you have a lot more control over your content in that you don't get it, as far as I know, and as far as I've kind of heard other people say.
The only thing I was thinking was that YouTube is a public domain, but our Facebook group is private, so only we can see it.
Right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I don't really think a lot of people look at our stuff anyways, aside from the people in the group, and if they did, I'd be surprised if they made it past the 30-second mark. So, and I have mentioned before that if you're concerned about privacy, then just make sure your name's changed or something, or because there's not much. I mean, even stuff that is private is not really. I think that it's just at a point in internet history, where it's like you just got to assume that got nothing to hide anyways. And if you do, then, you know, I don't know. Then good luck with that.
No, it's a fair comment. I was just thinking of you. You know, you're broadcasting this to the nation now. If you put it onto YouTube.
The nation's got much better things to look at. Trust me. The nation's, they've got Prince Harry to deal with. They could look at anything they want. And if they choose to look at this, then good for them. Wouldn't you rather look at them than, I'd rather look at you than Prince Harry or any other more nefarious critters out there. So, you know, if anything, we're doing people a favor. That's my thoughts, right? Like if people would like to look at this, great. Why not learn some pentatonic skills, right?
I actually love having the stuff on YouTube because I direct all the people I say you should come to the sessions to that so they can see what it's all about. I think they're a great resource.
Yeah, I mean, I do it when I do it that way, and when I think about it that way too. And I don't think there's anything to hide. And if anything, it is a great resource, and I think it's important to, yeah, use the powers of the internet for good and trust that.
So on that point, Aaron, I found some of your YouTube videos, but is it just Aaron Watson guitar? Is that when I punch in?
Well, if you look up Aaron's Guitar Jam.
Oh, Aaron's Guitar Jam. Okay.
Aaron's Guitar Jam on YouTube, or if you look at my YouTube channel, because I just did it a long time ago because it was just one of those things to do, and so I just posted them on them. But there is a specific page in that just says, if you type in Aaron's Guitar Jam, you'll see it. And if you go to the website, my website, there's a link to it in the
Oh, okay.
so
I think it has to be a capital A when you search on YouTube.
I don't think so. As long as it's AARON apostrophe S, Aaron's Guitar Jam. But it's easy enough to find. And if you like, I can send it out.
But there is you just posted a brand new one today, haven't you?
No.
Well, with the index.
Oh, I put the index down. Thanks to
Yeah.
you, David. Yeah, thank you very much.
So there is an indexed Bob Dylan birthday tribute.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, thank you very much for doing that. Yeah. Okay, I got this. One of the things that I wanted to do, I had no idea what we were going to do, but I have confidence that when we get here, we can find something to do. And that really is how I treat my personal practice sessions. And I appreciate, I mean, I've done things like this a lot of times before, but it's nice to kind of just go with the flow. Like literally, I think it's a really good way to learn things, is just to go with the flow and see how it's starting to work out. So I hope that was beneficial. And it seems like it was. So here's another thing we can do. Okay, so back on that, just ear training. And we talked about, well, just back on the ear training. This time, let's see. I want to do the well, major chords and minor chords, just on 3 strings. So we're just going to use these first 3 strings. Okay, just the first 3 strings. Now, we have learned F minor in our groups, often where we say, okay, just cover the first 3 strings on the 1st fret. Now, let's say we're going to do that on the 2nd fret. So we've got the first finger is going to cover. So this is a minor chord, and just play those 3 strings. And I like to play it and then relax, because it takes a little bit of pressure, and you have to put even pressure, so you're playing all 3 of those strings. Okay, now slide that up to the 4th fret. Now back to the 2nd fret again. 4th fret. Now I want you to do it on the 9th fret. Got it? So we've got the 2nd fret and the 4th fret. And then all the way to the 9th fret. On most guitars, it's like the last dot before you hit the double dots or the 12th fret. So just stay on that 9 just to hear it. Great. Back to 2, 4, 9. Okay, I'll take just a little bit of a break. Those are all minor chords. Those are 3 different minor chords. That was the 2 chord and the 3 chord and the 6 chord in any given key. That's one way to look at it. So what we're going to do, we're going to play all the chords in a key. So let's see, I'll introduce these ones. Okay, now this next chord, put your first finger on the first 2 strings on the 5th fret. And then put your middle finger on the 6th fret. So it goes 5, 5, 6. So it's 5, 5, 6 from the bottom up. Everybody got that? Fifth fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. Gotta make sure anybody got any questions about that? Just if you do, please make sure if you got it, great. If you don't have
What are you playing on the 6th fret, Aaron?
What am I playing?
Yeah.
The 3rd string.
Ah, okay.
So I'm just saying, okay, the 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string, here's the frets. 5th, 5th, 6th. Okay, and the fingers are, this one's borrowing the 2, the index finger, just like it was before, but this time it only has to do the 2 strings because that next note is just a semitone up. So 5, 5, 6. Do you have that little shape? This is a major chord. The difference between a major chord and a minor chord is 1 note. Like if I just played on the 5th fret, all those 3 strings, I'd have a minor chord. But if I go up to the 6th fret, on the 3rd string, I have a major chord. Minor chord, major chord. Okay? So I'm basing it, like when I'm talking about move it up to whatever fret, I'm basing it on wherever my index finger is. So now if I say, okay, let's do it on the 5th fret. Now let's move up to the 7th fret, the same shape. So now it would be 7, 7, 8. Now I want to move it back to the 5th fret. So it's kind of just getting your hand, like look at my fingers for a second. It's like this shape moves around, right? So it kind of feels the intervals between the strings and the relationship between the strings and the frets, and it stays kind of in a specific, it stays in form. So the 5th fret one again. And then move it up to 7. Okay. Is that all right with people? Now if I do...
Oh, I just have a question.
Oh, please. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I get the shape and everything, but
Yeah.
what I'm struggling with is my thumb. It keeps going, like when I'm on 5, for example, where my thumb is showing is hanging out is at 4. Is between the the fifth and third fret instead of straight? Should it be right behind
That's a
the
great
button
question.
on 5?
Well, my thumb is kind of, it's kind of like if I got rid of the neck, it would be like this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of supporting that pinching action, so you have the least amount of, or you have the most amount of kind of compression, I guess. So it
Right.
kind of goes where, as long as it doesn't seem like it's in an unnatural place. Like mine is basically, it's pretty much behind the fifth fret, I guess. It's like right under the fifth fret. Was it wherever you had it, Susan? Was it? Did it seem like was it working out?
Well, it felt like it was going to cramp out. But what happens when I have
Okay.
it back like that? Otherwise, when I'm doing a bar and I have my finger on the 6, for example,
Hmm.
it it's wrecking the sound of the string below it.
On the
Not,
second string
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not crisp.
that's that's what you got to work out. And so the way, one of the things is try to get your middle finger, the string on the sixth fret, a little bit more on the tip. You gotta figure out, you gotta micro adjust it, and that is the
Okay.
trickiest part. And thanks for bringing that up because that really is the key. So one way you can do that is if you go say 6 5 5 6 5 5, and if you notice it sounds like this, then you can really tell which strings might be getting leaned on, because the sensitivity is, it's amazing the precision that we have to do as humans, and also the precision that you can actually feel. Like it's just like microscopic amounts that your sensitivity's at. So you have to give it just a little bit more of a, try to be a little bit more arched. Yeah.
That
And
does.
then, just one last question. So you also don't want to be seeing the whites of your skin, like you don't want to be pressing so hard with on the 5s that your finger goes white, like
Well,
this.
yeah, that's initially, it's kind of a game of relaxing what you don't need to, where you don't need to have that kind of tension, and that really is the kind of the eureka stuff. It's like, oh, I don't need to be squeezing up my arm right now, because a lot of that transference is just like mental, like wanting it so bad. You know what I mean? So I mean, for example, like look at this. Like I'm not even using my thumb at all. And so between gravity and being like holding it up against you, like using other kind of forces, you can kind of find a balance, so you're not really, like gravity is a great thing. Thinking, okay, well, your fingers, like as they move this way, there's this kind of squishing motion against, like you think of a rock climber holding onto the fret with his fingers, or you can actually use this downward force to your advantage, as opposed to using muscular strength. You use forces, like I'm not doing anything right now except holding my guitar a little differently so that I can push against it as opposed to squeeze. So hopefully that gives you some ideas, because that is one of those things that, well, those are things to work out for sure when doing bar chords, and when doing these type of little chords too.
This is not to be confused with a power chord.
This?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, holding down any series of notes. It could be, you could call it a power chord. It's a powerful chord, but it's not a 2-note chord. Generally, the definition of like a power chord is a 2-note chord, and it's mostly on the bass, the strings are. So what I wanted to kind of get at, but I realize it's kind of, well, the difference between the major and the minor chords, and then when you put them together. So this is what, just take a break from that for a second. Just put your index finger on the first fret. And this relates to that getting onto the tip of the finger so that the strings underneath it don't get muted. So this time, just your index finger, or you know what, just to stay on form, why don't you put your middle finger on the first string, or sorry, on the first fret of the third string. So it sounds like this. So you've got from the bottom, open, open, first fret. you want, you could use your index finger, like you could go. And so the idea is are the strings, particularly from the third string to the second string, is it getting muted? Because you don't want it to get muted. And now do your index finger. That's more of a, this will be more practical. So do you remember the first chord we learned after this, the minor chord? Now slide your first finger up to the second fret. And play that minor chord. And then up to the fourth fret. And now go back to the second fret. And then that chord I just showed you. Second fret, minor. Fourth fret, minor. Fifth fret, major. Right, this one. Now go back to the fourth fret, minor. Second fret. And then back to where we start, which is here. Great, now just do an E major chord. Now if you were to remove these three strings, you'd be left with this. On the first three strings, right? So this is an E major chord. You see what just without those ones? Okay, so now let's work on this. So now second fret is the minor chord. Fourth fret. Now go to the fifth fret, the major chord. Now go to the seventh fret, that major chord. Okay, we're working through these slowly, so now back to the fifth fret, which is major. Now the fourth fret was minor. Second fret is minor. And then we're back to the E major. So this is an ear training exercise. There's a technique kind of aspect to it, and there's also realizing kind of eureka. It's like, okay, these are minor chords. Wherever you put this finger, just those three, you've got a minor chord. You got F minor, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A minor, B flat, A sharp minor, whatever, B minor, C sharp minor, D minor. You know, that's all your minor chords, just like that. And they all work the same way that this is an A major, this is an A sharp major, B major, C major. So how major chords and minor chords can be formed, just because a major chord or minor chord only has 3 notes technically. And those are the simplest ways to kind of do them. And then putting in them context of where we started this whole thing off. So just play the major scale, right? Oh, we'll do it together. So open, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. So then what we're working on here is harmonizing that. So we've got and so the first one, let's do those again. So just go back to the E. We'll stay on it. Now the second fret's minor. Fourth fret. Fifth fret's major. 7th fret's major. Ninth fret is minor. Now go back to the 7th fret major. 5th fret major. 4th fret's minor. Second fret minor. And then where we start or end is the E major. And let's play a full E major chord. Wow. Well, that was pretty intense to lay on you after the pentatonic, but hey,
No, that was super cool.
great.
I
Any,
just got to step up and turn on the switch because I didn't realize my iPad's just about to.
So, any comments, queries that I can help with before? I know that is a lot to digest. Just as an aside, that's not. I mean, that's a lot of lesson. In one regard, when I used to do these kind of lessons more often on the internet, I realize how everybody learns differently. So the process, it's sometimes for me, anyways, it's nice to realize if it's recorded, and as long as you have your questions answered, you can go back and review it, or you can kind of work at it your own pace. That's kind of the key, as long as I kind of define everything or make sure everything's kind of clear. Any Neil, what do you think?
You're right. It was a lot,
Yeah.
but like I said, it opened up a door, Aaron, and it, yeah, it struck a couple of nerves. And I can see that some practice is definitely in place. Just finding the finger position as you're moving up without looking down there, right?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, very interesting stuff. Really.
So the moving up and down is definitely something just to get get your bearings and to get the distance. That just requires practice for sure. And when you have a really solid melody, it will really help. So if you work on memorizing the Blackest Crow, you'll be away to the races. It's kind of like learning a bike. Like once you get those intervals, the distance sorted out, the tactile sense of it on your guitar neck, specifically on your own, like when you find some quality time to do it, then they're just always gonna be the same, right? So then the other part of that we kind of was just major and minor chords. So knowing that those three on the same fret is a minor chord, and then you just add that one semitone, that's a major chord. Putting them into a context of a harmonized scale is pretty advanced stuff. So just to point out, just to clarify, just to reiterate that aspect, like moving, the melody for the Blackest Crow and then adding a chord to each one of those notes, like that's a lot to ask for anybody on the fly, right? So just to make sure you realize it is pretty advanced. And so to break that down, break it into two sections, learn the minor and the major, just the concept of this is a major chord, that's a minor chord on those three strings. And with that idea, and the physicality of it, like being able to make a major chord on three strings without it muted out, that's a tricky thing too, which could require months not muting out that middle string, because that is definitely so there you go.
That major and minor chords, I can see that sliding nicely into bar chords.
It is. Well, it's half a bar chord, and I mean, it's funny. I was talking to someone yesterday who wanted to join the group, and they told me, "Well, I don't need a capo because I know all the bar chords." And I'm like, "Well, that's not." And then it's like, okay, well, how do I explain that it's not that bar chords don't sound very good? Like it's because they kind of figured that they were so far advanced that they didn't need a capo and they wanted to use bar chords. But the reality is, like, professional writers and people who are writing songs, they use capos because the interplay between the voices, the structure of the chords you use in the first position, they just sound better together than using bar chords. Like bar chords are great. They have their place, and yes, they're really important to learn. But after you learn bar chords, it's good to be able to get, I don't know. It was interesting. Bar chords aren't the goal, I guess, of everything, but they are definitely something to be able to do with relative ease.
It seems to me that bar chords are the purview of electric guitars.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're better on electric guitars for sure. Like it's more suited to power chords. Bar chords are just an extension of power chords as far as writing goes. So, Susan, what were you thinking?
Before we sign off, I was just taking some notes here of what we just did with those little chords. So is the minor, minor is 2/4, major is 5 and 6, and then the minor is the 7 again.
The with that harmonized scale, the open E is the 1 chord, and then you've got, and so that's a major chord. So the majors are on open, and then 5 and 7.
Oh, 5 and 7. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then the minors are 2, 4, and 9. And just think of it like a major scale. So just think of it this way. Just write out like the major scale is 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Right? Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So those are where those are falling.
Right. Okay, got it.
And
that's really cool.
It's a really fun thing to practice, and it really gets your ear training. It really helps. So
now, Aaron.
Yes.
So is the Thursday night now like you do a lesson?
No,
I usually don't.
No, I was gonna take the night off, but I didn't want to take the whole week off. So usually I do the singing, but I had a throat infection. I could barely breathe. Like it was. I almost went to the hospital. It was really crazy. I mean it was more severe than I am letting on, and it was kind of miraculous that I was even able to do this today. So I feel that much better. But
well, thank you.
Yeah, but
we appreciate the effort.
I do like doing technique stuff, but I also it's a different kind of part of it. Anyways, yeah. So thank you very much.
A really good class. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, very useful. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you,
Aaron.
Aaron. Good to see everybody.
Have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Buonanotte.